Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. First off, as today is December the 23rd slash 24th, depending on when you are watching this, happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We hope you are getting to spend as much time as possible with loved ones, friends, everybody, and enjoying the holidays as much as we are. So hopefully all of that is going well for you. One thing we do have to say that the Grinch did sort of steal Christmas by not giving the Cardinals Mr. Yamamoto.
Yeah, shocker, right? We're all surprised that the Cardinals didn't get the biggest fish on the market. Um, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are building a super team or trying to build a super team, which, as we all know, this isn't basketball, so they did not ruin the sport in my eyes. But yeah, they're doing what you should want your owners to do, which is spend money and try to win a World Series.
Yeah, I put out a tweet a couple days ago that essentially said that it's hilarious to me that people are mad at the Dodgers, the billionaire owners spending money on their team, instead of being mad at the billionaire owners who are not spending money on their team. And before someone comes back and says, "Well, we can be mad at both," look, every Cardinal fan I encounter, whether it's on social media or in person, wants Bill DeWitt Jr. to spend more money. So in LA, they are spending more money. They're just doing it very creatively. I also put out a post not too long ago that essentially said, in my mind, the Dodgers are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And that is sort of how it feels. They are better at drafting and developing than most teams. They are very good in their trades with that they make. They're very shrewd about that. And they bring in the pieces around everyone else that, gives you a chance to win. To be fair, they've won one World Series since 1988. And that was in the
And it was
2020
in a short
2020,
season.
correct. So, that is fair. That's a very valid argument. My only point to all of it is it's got to be fun to be a Dodgers fan when your owner is willing to take the chance. This is sort of what I was saying last year about the Padres and the Mets. It was also fun as a fan not of those teams to watch them not make the playoffs. So I'm okay on that also.
Yeah, I just don't. I think spending. We do this every offseason, and it's wild to me that we do it every single offseason where we say, well, this is unfair. Look at these owners doing this. And then, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, you could spend a bunch of money, and you could be like the Rangers, where you were bad one year, and then we won the World Series the next year. And was like a lot of the money they spent last offseason was on Jacob DeGrom. He didn't even contribute. So you could argue that their spending didn't even result in the winning other than Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon. But the Cardinals have their Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon with Arenado and Goldschmidt. Like the Cardinals have that. They're investing that much in certain players as well. So I do think it's a little bit overblown. And I also think you look at this Dodgers team. One, they don't even have the highest payroll in baseball yet. So that's one thing. But also, I think why people are so afraid of the Dodgers doing this is because of how well run they are. And the
Correct.
fact that they've never really had an offseason like this. Like we think of them as big spenders, but it's normally like they'll get Freddie Freeman one off season, Mookie Betts one off season, and Trevor Bauer, they did that one off season. And they do that, but then they never do this thing where it's, bang, 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 here's Glass now, Otani, Yamamoto. And that's scaring people because we know how good the Dodgers are when they don't do that. So how good are they when they're actually all in? And we'll see. We don't know. But there's still a lot of volatility, even in the guys they got. Like I think Yamamoto is going to be a top 10 pitcher in baseball. But I don't know that yet. Glasnow is not healthy often. Otani can't pitch, so he's just a DH right now. And like who's the other guy that they haven't got? Have they got anyone else? Is that it? Like that's you know, it's not like
Bueller's
they went
Bueller's
out and
coming off
got
second Tommy John.
right. We'll see. And
Now,
it's not
here's
like
the
they
thing that
got, sure things, 100% sure things that are guaranteed to be, this Golden State Warriors MLB edition. I don't see it that way.
to me, by adding Yamamoto, it's protection in case Otani is just simply a hitter for the rest of his career, which I do not believe. I'm simply saying, like, here's what they've done, right? They added the most coveted player in free agent history in Major League Baseball. They did that. That's one. Two, they added the most coveted pitcher that was in the offseason. Potentially next to Otani, the most coveted free agent pitcher coming out of somewhere that is not here in North America.
Well, you could say the most coveted free agent pitcher ever. He got the most money ever.
Right, exactly. They also, in my opinion, got the best available pitcher that was on the trade market. Um,
Yeah.
so when you look like that's three, if you were going to fill in the blanks, that's the top three scores on Family Feud right there. Otani, Yamamoto,
Mhm.
and Glass now. So yes, could it all not work out? Absolutely. We saw the Diamondbacks go to the World Series last year. But what they did was they literally made the three best moves you could have made in the offseason. That's what they did.
Yeah, they're giving themselves the best chance. Like whether or not it's going to work, is it a good? It's still not a good chance they win the World Series at all. It's not a good chance anyone wins the World Series, but they are giving themselves the best chance, which I think is what we all want the Cardinals to do. Like no one's guaranteed anything, knock on wood, but one of those big guys they got could go down with an injury, and then they're not going to help him in the postseason. Like that could happen. You saw that happen with DeGrom and Scherzer and all those guys with the Rangers last year, and it still won. Like that does happen, but they're doing their best to you know to win. And that's what we want Bill DeWitt and the Cardinals to do. And I think a lot of this is envy as much as anything. We all want our teams to be able to go out there and spend $1.2 billion in free agency. But there's not a lot of teams that can actually financially do that. The Dodgers are one of them, and they did it.
The Dodgers are currently plus. I just wanted to look this up. The Dodgers are currently plus 380 on FanDuel to win the World Series. The next closest are the Braves at plus 650. Can you guess who is number three?
The Astros,
They are number four. Number three currently is the New
Yankees.
York Yankees at plus 850. Can you explain? Like, I
I
don't
mean, they got Juan
understand that.
Soto. They got Juan
Yeah.
Soto in a relatively weak American league. So the thing that's interesting to me about that is, you know, are the Dodgers better than the Braves? They're newer than the Braves. They're shinier than the Braves. Are they better than the Braves? I don't think so. I don't think their rotation is better than the Braves, and I don't think their lineups are close.
Okay. If we break down their rotation, hold on. It
Okay,
now again,
Strider's better than any
baseball is
other.
always starting with question marks, right?
Okay,
But yeah, Yamamoto's a question mark. So is Bueller coming back, right? Glass now always a question
Glasnow's
mark
a
to stay
question mark.
healthy. I agree. But let's just say those are. I think
Okay,
it's pretty hard to argue against Yamamoto, Glass now, and
it's not. I'll argue. Strider's better
okay.
than any of them, and
Well, we
Max
don't
Fried
know
is better
that.
than any of them.
We
We
don't
do.
know that what Yamamoto
We
is going
know
to
that
be.
Spencer Strider is a top three pitcher in baseball. It's much more likely that he's that again than it is that Yamamoto's that.
We've also seen Strider break down, like at the end of the years.
Yeah, but I mean, I think to say that Yamamoto's even comparable to Strider yet wouldn't be fair.
Okay, that's valid. The Cardinals,
And
by the
Max
way,
Fried even like Max Fried's a top 10 to 15 pitcher in baseball when he's healthy.
the Cardinals, by the way, are plus 3,000 to win the World Series. So if you want to go ahead and put 10 grand or $10
Nickel
down,
sum,
you might walk away with 30 grand,
3 grand.
3 grand. Yeah, 3 grand. No, never mind.
Yeah.
300. You know what I
Yeah.
mean.
What?
Either
Yeah.
way,
No.
you would walk away with some. Yeah, but if you want to put 100 down, you'd walk away with 3 grand. Yeah. Okay, got it.
It's not picking
Brain
it up.
fart there.
Um.
Um.
Yeah. So
By
I
the
don't
way,
know though. Like, but on a real note, I think we do this every year where the Dodgers are very good, but they're not substantially better than the Braves. Like we can have an argument. Like I don't think their lineup's even close to the Braves, if I'm being honest. Like they're not that much better than the Astros. Like they're not. They're just newer. That's
I
my
think it
opinion.
is. I think it is relatively fair to argue that the top four of the Dodgers are better than the top four of the Braves. I think that's fair. But I think when you get past number
Top
four,
four, maybe.
there are a lot of question marks. There is no doubt about it.
Mhm.
Will Smith, great player, great hitter. Gavin Lux coming off of an injury. He'll hit near the bottom, I assume. We don't know where he ends up. James Outman, does he come back to life after it's really, I mean, really only had a great first half and a half, maybe
Yeah.
last year. So
Yeah.
that I
And
think
I
there's some
also
great
think like part of
questions
that
there.
is what's the thing that's most likely to break down for you in a postseason? It's pitching,
Yeah.
right? We see this every year. Like look at Zach. The Diamondbacks went to the World Series in spite of their best pitcher being bad. So
What
like I would rather build around the Braves offense than the Dodgers rotation. That's me personally.
what do you think this means for Clayton Kershaw?
I think it means that they can now sign him and not count on him until he's healthy.
I think so too. I think that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah. Or he's gonna go to the Rangers. Like maybe he said it's between those two. So I mean either one. But if you're the Rangers, you can't really afford to do that because all their other pitchers are injured too. So I don't know.
right, right. The interesting thing about the whole discussion is we just spent a few minutes arguing whether we think the Dodgers or the Braves are the better team. You know who's not in that conversation? The team that we do a podcast about and are both currently wearing hats. Even though the joke used to be that you were somewhere in a closet, while I currently am in our walk-in closet in New Orleans because everyone is home and I had nowhere else to go. So that is the team that we are not talking about.
Yeah, but also the team we're not talking about is the team that just went to the World Series in the National League.
Correct.
So
Who
all this talk about, these super teams and all, who cares? It's baseball, dude. It's baseball. I don't understand why we're not even 2 months removed from the World Series ending. And we are once again doing this thing where we freak out about something. They play 162 games. You know how much can happen in 162 games? How many people thought Gabby Moreno was going to be a postseason hero at this time last year?
in 162 games, the Cardinals can win roughly 70 of them. So literally anything can happen.
They can do that, or they can win 95. We don't know what's going to happen.
Settle down there. Just because you got the cool table where I used to be does not mean that that's the prediction you
I
should
do
be
think
making.
though, I do think it's a fair thing to say the Cardinals. There's no way the Cardinals can look at their roster right now and say that they compare to these teams.
No.
So the question begins like, do they care about that? And my answer would be probably not, because I don't think they do. But they should. And at the same time, how much should they push to get that much better right now as opposed to the trade deadline? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but do you think they're looking around at the National League and even taking note of what the other teams are doing? Because I get the vibe that they don't do that.
I mean, I get that vibe too, but I guess my answer would be they should be. That's what my answer would be.
Yeah, but don't you think being reactionary is what got the Padres in the shit show that they're in now and
Oh,
trying to
absolutely.
really
I'm
put it
not
all
saying
on?
that now they need to go out and trade one of their middle of the order bats to add a Dylan Cease or a Shane Bieber. I'm not saying that. What
Oh,
I'm saying
stop.
is, I think the problem has been, and we've talked about this on here. Kyle's talked about it when he's come on. Kareem talked about it when he came on. I think one of the problems is the Cardinals are so far behind other teams that being reactionary or not, they're just playing. It seems like they're playing a different game. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think there's a point to be made that that's true, but also like you look at the Orioles last year, and that's a team that's so interesting to me. They won 100 games, and their most consistent starter, other than Kyle Bradish, was our four starter. Like Kyle Gibson. So I don't know. I don't know the likelihood of the Cardinals being able to be a good to elite team as they're currently constructed. But I also don't know if they need to, like, if you trade a Donovan or a Gorman for Lazardo or whomever, Cease, how much better are you? And are you better? Are you better because now you look at the rotation and say it's solid, or are you worse because the guy that plays more often than that pitcher that would have probably helped you way more throughout the season is gone? So I think those are the questions we need to ask. Everyone wants another starter, and I get it. I do too. But I just don't know if that makes you better because of the cost. I really don't. If the Cardinals had this deep farm system like the Reds and like the Cubs do and the Dodgers, then yeah, you go get another starter. But they don't have that. So their options are limited.
The awesome thing is we are currently 96 days from opening day, and the first 16 games of the year, we're going to find out what this team has. Like we're going to find out, do they have the horses,
They'll be 8 and 8.
and
Like
do
we'll
they
have no
have
idea.
the you've got the Dodgers, you're at LA, you're at San Diego. We always have been chewed up on the West Coast.
Mhm.
Then you got Miami and you got Philly at home, and then you go to Arizona. You get a little reprieve with Oakland there, and then we've got Milwaukee, Arizona, the Mets. I mean, the first 30 35 games of the season, they're going to be battle tested, and you're going to
Yep.
know if this team comes out and they are 17 and 18 after that 35 games. I think that's not a terrible thing. But if they come out and they're 10 and they're
No, it is.
25,
That's bad. That's
you think
bad.
again in that schedule, like,
Yeah, it's bad. If you want to be a contender, you want to be a contender. If you want to be this wishy-washy 500 team, then trade Arenado and Goldschmidt. Like that's
no,
where I'm
I
at
don't
with this team.
disagree.
Like if you want to be a contender and you want to keep these guys around, you want to sign Contreras, you want to bring in Sonny Gray for 3 years. That means you're trying to win now, or you don't do those things. So no, I don't think that just going on that trip and saying, "Oh well, we're gonna go 17 and 18, and we're gonna be 500 at the deadline, and then sign to it, trade for two innings eaters." No, at some point this team's got to get together.
But
At some
that's
point,
been
the offense has to be what we think they can
you
be,
just described
and
you just described the last 8 years of Cardinal baseball. So what makes you think the
I didn't say
2024
I think anything. I
is
said
going
I
to be
don't think that's
different?
good enough.
Okay, but I guess my question is as a fan and as people who come on here to talk about the Cardinals and are always optimistic before the start of the season, what would make our fans, thank you by the way for listening, we greatly appreciate you and hope you have an amazing holidays. What would make them like the optimist? I mean, it's pretty tough to be optimistic right now. Like it really is. when you look at the entire when you take in the entire landscape of what's going on, not just in Major League Baseball, but within our own little kingdom here of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Hmm. Well, when you say what's going on in Major League Baseball, you're talking about the big spenders spending a lot of money.
No, I'm just saying I think you're seeing a lot of teams who have developed well. They've drafted well and developed well. There's a lot of young arms out there. That's the one. Look at the
Mhm.
Cardinals rotation. Not one guy in that rotation is anyone they've drafted nor developed. That are they the only
Yeah.
rotation in baseball that is that way? They might be. I can't say that because I have not gone through every single rotation in the major leagues, but I would be willing to say they're in a small few, if not the only one who doesn't have one guy. Not only, I mean, Zach Thompson's your number six, I guess that's your
The
guy.
Rangers, who
Dane
just won the World
Dunning.
Series,
Dane Dunning is
they traded for him.
okay. So then there you go.
Yeah, so that I mean, but yeah, that is obviously they need to develop better, and we'll see what Roby and Henson Jerpy are doing. They're trying, like they're getting that on track. That's not a quick fix. And to be fair, a lot of that Jack Flaherty and Alex Reyes getting hurt. Like if those guys never get hurt, they might be our aces right now, and we might have locked them up, and they might both be here. But that also shows you how hard it is to develop pitching. It's not an easy thing. Even if you develop talent, you draft the right talent, they could get hurt, and you never see the fruits of that labor. But I do want to say, looking back on what they've done so far. One, I think signing Sonny Gray as early as they did was massive for this offseason. If they would have missed on him, I don't know where they would have turned. I don't know. Like that contract being 75 million for 3 years looks like a steal. Um, Obviously second to Cy Young last year, all that. There's just something I wrote down because I wanted to look at quality starts because I do think this offense we looked at, last year when they got quality starts, they were like a 650 winning percentage. That's what they were winning at. And they were like sixth in the league, sixth worst in the league in quality starts. Only 30% of their games they got quality starts in. 30%. The best in baseball was at like 65%, which is over double what the Cardinals got. So they had 48 all of last year. They added 47 with their moves this offseason. Last year, right? With Gibson, Lynn, and Sonny Gray. They added 47, so they doubled it basically. But that's not really how that works because guys are gone. And Miles had 14 of that 48, so he's coming back, obviously. I kind of expect him to be better. Like, I think he'll get up closer to that 17 number. And Matt's had 4, and I don't know how you could be worse than that. That's really bad to have 4 quality starts the whole
How
year.
many starts did he have though? To be fair,
Enough to where 4 is horrible. I don't know. I don't know the number, but 4 is bad. He started for like 4 months. And all of them took place like after the All-Star break. So he was not good. So they have 65 last year on their rotation now. That's almost 20 more. So I think a big thing for me and what I'm looking at here is I think they haven't made their ceiling better. Their ceiling is maybe even lower because they don't have Montgomery and Flaherty. So I do agree with that. But their floor, not having Wayno, not having the inconsistency of Flaherty. I like Jack, but he killed you at times with your bullpen and just lost you games straight up. And I think Max is going to be better because I don't think he'll be worse than he was in the first half. They have a chance to where they were leaving a lot of wins on the board last year because they were just not getting guys through 6 innings ever. I think they're gonna be able to pick up this year. So I do think they're gonna get to the deadline in a good position. But then comes the question, are they going to make the move at the deadline? I don't know. I don't know. But I do like what they've done so far. They need to make at least 1 or 2 moves that get them over the top. But I don't are they going to make those moves? That's my question. I don't know if I have confidence in that.
I mean, to be fair, they still have 2 months before spring training starts. Well, a month and a half before pitchers and catchers report.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have look at. I mean, if Dylan Cease gets moved now, I don't know what that's going to look like. I have no idea. It
A lot.
sounds like pitching prospects. That sounds like the Cardinals aren't going to be in on Dylan Cease. Like I just don't see that happening.
They can't be. You can't be.
I think they're going to shift their focus to relief pitching, I think is where they're going to have to look. And I think that's a smart move. Like we see it every year come to playoffs. And yes, you have to get there. I get that. But where the teams who can get 4 quality innings out of their bullpen have such an advantage over the teams who are struggling to get innings. I mean, we saw the Diamondbacks make it to the World Series last year and with doing 2 essentially bullpen starts in the playoffs because their bullpen
Yeah.
was pitching so well. And if you have those guys who can give you those 4 to 5 to 6 innings in a playoff game, and now all of a sudden you go to 3 to 4 lockdown guys in the playoffs, boom,
Yeah, and I
that's a
think
huge advantage.
an interesting like nugget into what they might be trying to do the rest of this offseason is Glass said they were trying to trade for him, right? So that's out there. There's no like maybe they were, maybe they weren't. We know that they were, which means they were at least committing to 20 to $25 million on their payroll. More. And then we get the report that they're in on Josh Hader. Um, I am very anti signing relievers to long-term expensive deals. Okay,
I think
generally
should be.
speaking.
Yes.
But here's my thing. If Jordan Hicks and Hector Neris and that bucket of relievers are going to get 3 to 4 years of 13 to $15 million a year, why not just go the extra 5 million another year for the best closer we've seen in baseball since Mariano Rivera? Why not?
I'm in. 29
Like
years old. I mean,
I think he's
I'm
as
in.
sure of a thing as you can get because he doesn't rely on like his velocity is important, but it's not that important because it's his deception that's important, and he won't lose that. His slider's one of the best in baseball. I feel like if you're gonna make that move and you're gonna take the big shot, and you're saying, Jordan Montgomery's gonna cost 25 million, maybe more. Who knows what he's gonna get per year? We're looking at other than him, like Giolito, no thanks, not really. I'm not really that interested in him being the big addition that comes next. Why not just pair Helsley and Hader together with Giovanni Gallegos and all these young guys you just added and Jojo Romero and just make a dominant bullpen that can shorten games?
How many years do you think he wants? 5?
I think he's going to try to get more than Edwin Diaz, which was like right over $100 million. That's what I think he's going to want.
Years.
I mean, I would say 5 then probably. You're going to have to, they're not going to go 30 a year, so probably 5.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. It is a risky proposition for a guy who has, I think, never thrown more than one inning in his career. Like, I think that is.
No, he used to be used a lot.
I
There
meant
was a
in the
couple
last.
years.
That's true. That in the last few years, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
And I think some of that, I do think I'm interested to see wherever he goes, if that after getting paid and getting the massive contract he's going to get, if he kind of backs off of that a little bit and says, okay, I got my money. I'm not, and I don't blame him for doing that. Like he knew he wanted to get to free agency before his arm fell off. And Craig Counsell was running him out there for 3 innings every other day. That's not sustainable. So I wonder how much that changes for him because he's paid and he's now comfortable. But I do think there's part of me that says if you have Helsley and Hader at the back of your bullpen with Gallegos and JoJo, and who knows if some of these young guys develop and become part of that mix. I mean, you're now if you can get these guys that we just talked about that are going to get you 6 innings. Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson are going to get you 6 innings most games. Michaelis will do that as well. Sonny Gray will probably get you 5 most games. He'll get you 6 or 7 some other ones. I mean, at that point, if you have a lead, like I remember when we were playing the Brewers when they had Devin Williams and Josh Hader, you had to have a lead by the 7th inning or you're losing.
Correct.
Like if you can do that with this offense and these starters that are going to get you 6 innings, like they're giving you 6, and you have those guys back there, you're shortening games. And if you have a lead after 6 and you can hand it off to Gallegos, Helsley, and Hader, the game's over. Like
Historically
that's what they
speaking,
could do for themselves.
in the Mozeliak era, signing relievers to multi-year deals has not worked out. If you were to look at the Brett Cecils, the Andrew Millers, I know Miller was okay. He was whatever. Then Holland was only 1 year, but then you look at the Drew Verhagens and you look at the signings that we have made, which I still will never understand giving Drew Verhagen 2 years. There was no need to ever do that.
He was pretty good last year, actually, but
The market on Drew Verhagen was hilarious to me. That was so Cardinals. But my point is I think it's gonna surprise most Cardinal fans if they were to go out and get Josh Hader. And I think the reviews would be very mixed, don't you? I think you're the first thing you said, and tend to agree with you. Don't overspend on relievers because you can always find them. Like it's hilarious when people come on social media and they dog the relievers when it's like, okay, now name me who the Diamondbacks relievers were before the season last year. You couldn't have, or the Rangers, you couldn't have done that. So
I could have named.
You have no idea.
You could name her oldest Chapman.
They didn't have him last year. He was in Kansas City.
I get what you're saying, but they traded for him.
But also, that's my point.
I do think there's an aspect of this that's getting overlooked, and it's don't overpay for relievers that are only good in spurts. Like Jordan Hicks, to me, I want him. That's a really risky investment in Jordan Hicks. Like I would almost say, even though you're committing probably $60 million more, Josh Hader probably a safer investment if we're being honest for what the results will probably be. But let's look at the guys that are Hader level good for as long as he's been this good. They're like 4 or 5 years. That's Kimbrel, that's Jansen, that's Mo, that's all these guys that were actually like this elite. It's a rarefied air where he's in. Trevor Hoffman. Those guys don't get bad. Craig Kimbrel was good with the Red Sox after he signed his deal. Kenley Jansen's been good everywhere he's gone. He was good in Atlanta. He was good in Boston last year, and he was great for every year he was in LA. So I do think there's a level where you get to that level of greatness, that rarefied air that Josh Hader is in. He's been the best reliever in baseball for 4 years. 5 years maybe. I don't think the fall off's as risky. I really don't, because those guys don't really get that much worse. It's the guys that are in that second tier, like Ryan Helsley, where he has one amazing year. Then you don't really know what you're getting the next year. That's when you're at a risk of paying these guys. But when you're Josh Hader, you know what you're getting from him. Like he might have stretches where he's bad. That's relievers. But I do think at the end of the year, just about every year, unless he has some awful injury, knock on wood, you kind of know what you're going to get from the guy. He's going to be great.
Yeah, and the other thing with Hader is it also provides protection with Ryan Helsley. Like you don't have to use Helsley as often. You don't have to use him for as many pitches. Also, I don't know what his contract looks like moving forward. I have not looked that up. Should have, didn't. Sorry about it. But
Helsley,
yeah,
he's
but if you
cheap.
have Hader, I'm saying like I don't know how long we have him still in our
2 more years,
grasp.
I think.
Okay, like that now you have the protection of Josh Hader, but I mean to have both of them, like you said, we saw how efficient Devin was when Josh Hader was there. We saw how efficient Josh Hader was when he had Devin along with him. By the way, no shot, like Devin has been efficient since Hader left as well. I understand
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying if you have two of those guys, when you can look at the two guys at the back end of the bullpen, also don't discount the fact that one's a righty and one's a lefty. Like you don't find a ton of lefty closers out there. uh they're not, you can't pull them off trees. And
No. Yeah.
Josh Hader is essentially your generation, this generation's Billy Wagner, and maybe and probably better.
He's right up there with him. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here is, there is risk in signing relievers, but there's not that much risk well, there is, but in signing guys that are as great as Josh Hader. Like even a Aroldis Chapman, like he has his own issues where people don't like him, whatever. But he's been good for a long time. A long, long time. So I don't know what the likelihood is of them getting him. This conversation might be pointless. They might not even be interested. But I do think if you're not going to be able to go out and trade for, Lazardo or Cease or any of these guys that are available, and you're not signing a Montgomery, maybe that's the big move that really can put you in a spot where your pitching rotation is not scary, but your pitching staff as a whole gets to a point where it's pretty solid. And if this offense does what we think it can do, you're winning a lot of games. Like if you have Helsley and Hader at the back of that bullpen, you're not blowing very many games. Like if you get a lead to the seventh inning with Gio, Helsley, Hader, that's as locked down as you can get in Major League Baseball. And I don't know if it's
Yeah,
likely at all. It probably isn't. But I do think there's a part of me that says, is that the move that they're making that fans are going to hate, but it's going to end up working out?
right. Yeah, I'm on board. I've said that before that I don't think they'll do it. But I if they my original obviously was Yamamoto. I understand that, and Nola. You know who is sitting here like salivating is Blake Snell after the Yamamoto deal. Like two Cy Young awards.
I don't know,
You
man.
don't. I I don't know, man. He might
I
end
think
up
in
getting.
theory, yes, but I think we're seeing that nobody is falling for that trick.
Yeah, you could be right.
I
But there's
think
just
that's
so
what's
many
happening
teams who need
here.
pitching and want
He's
pitching.
going to get paid. He's going to get paid a lot, but I don't
The
think he's going to get
Giants,
as much as Nola.
the Giants are going to pay him, I think, a lot. I could be
That
wrong.
Yeah, or the Angels. It's the Giants and the Angels are going to be bidding against each other,
That's
and
what I would say. That's what I would say.
yeah,
They're going
and
to
he's going
pay
to get
him a
paid,
lot.
and he should. But I don't think him or Montgomery are benefiting from the Yamamoto deal because it's such a
Yeah,
unicorn deal that doesn't come around. So
that's
I
true.
don't think it has anything to do with them, really. I really
I'm
don't.
just so intrigued to watch the next 5 to 7 years of the Dodgers. Like that's the window right there. That's the Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts,
That's
obviously
not 7 years
Otani.
long.
Five, 3 to 5.
Three. 3 to 4, 5. I don't know. Like, how long are we going to say Freddie,
Let's say
Mookie,
three
and
to
Shohei are
five.
going to be in their prime? Those guys are in their 30s.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Otani's 30. What's Betts? 32,
They're all in
31.
their 30s. Like, they're not
I mean,
young.
they're all younger than Goldie and
I'm just
Nolan.
saying to expect all of them to be good through age 35 might not be too likely. Maybe they
I don't
will.
know.
They're great
You're
players,
talking
but
about
we'll
three
see.
Hall of Famers, bro. Like
Right.
I
Albert
would not
Pujols
be
is a Hall of
shocked
Famer
if in
too.
3 years I would not be shocked if in 3 years those three guys are still putting up not MVP but All Star like numbers every
Yeah,
year.
obviously. I think the next 3 years are important. They have to win one in the next 3 years. But I do think there is a part of me that's like, if Albert Pujols and how great of a hitter he was couldn't age well, I mean, how well are some of these other guys going to age? We don't know. Like they could be Goldschmidt, where they're great until they're 37, and they could be
Correct.
Albert Pujols when they fall off a cliff. We don't know. I hope they don't, but we'll see.
Um, what for Major League Baseball? What does this do to the Pirates, the Guardians, the Twins, the Tigers, the Royals, the Brewers? I
Hey,
mean,
the
fill in
Royals
the
are spending
blank.
money. Um,
They okay, all right. I mean,
but
you
they've
know
won a
what I'm
World
saying.
Series more recently than the Cardinals.
Like, what does that do to those? Like, I
Nothing,
it makes
Dad.
the
It doesn't do
drafting and
anything.
developing so much more important, right? Like you have to have those guys for the 5 to 7 years that once you draft and develop them and have that kind of control over them.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's not any different than it was last year, and then it was 3 years ago, and then it was 20 years ago. Those teams don't spend money. Other teams do. The disparity in baseball is not as bad as it was when the Yankees were in 2004, like
Right.
spending that much money. There's now teams up there with them. But I don't know the answer to that. I think the answer is they need to spend more money and stop crying poor. Like they're
At
not
some
poor.
point,
They
to
have
me,
money.
I guess my issue, and I am not a lawyer, I'm not a logistical accountant either, if that's even a thing. But like, I don't know the logistics on all of this. But if you're going to be getting luxury tax money, you should have to reinvest all of that into your team.
Yeah, you should.
That's a start. That's a start.
It should be illegal not to, if I'm being honest. Like you're
I
giving
mean,
given money. It's almost like asking for a loan and then not using it for what you said you were using it for. That's illegal. That's
well,
kind of what
people
they're
do that
doing.
probably all the time, to
Yeah,
be
they
fair.
do. You shouldn't. But if you're caught doing it, you're in trouble. We know these people are doing it. Like you're getting money,
Excuse me.
and then you're like, well, we can't sign, Seth Lugo. Why?
Right,
Why
right,
can't you? I
right.
don't understand. Like good for the
Within
Royals,
our
they get it at
division
least.
and our number one rival, what the Cubs have done literally nothing. I mean,
It's a tough market.
I'm not like being hyperbolic there. They've literally done nothing. What do you
Yeah.
other than dealing us Jared Young, which thank you by the way. Hopefully we will find that out later. But what do I mean, what if Belly? You and I talked about this earlier. What if Belly ends up in Toronto? What are the Cubs going to do? Do you think Josh Hader is a guy you could find the Cubs signing?
Yeah, but does that help them that much? And it's not that he would help them.
Yes,
But
he's going to help anyone.
they're losing their best player if Bellinger's gone. Like that's just be honest. He was their best player by a lot last year. Um, and they already lost their second best starting pitcher. So like what I don't know what they're gonna do. Like it's a tough market. Like that Mosaic having the forethought to get out from this market was very smart. You might not like everything he did, but seeing where it's at right now, we're completely stalled. And you're looking at it, Montgomery's out there, Snell's out there, some okay to could have no all-star bats are out there. None of these bats out there are all-stars other than Bellinger. So
Teoscar's out there.
he's not an
That's
all-star.
true. That's a
Like
good bat though. Like and a solid outfielder.
he's fine. He's fine. He
Yeah.
was fine for the Mariners. He's very streaky and inconsistent. He can bat fifth for you and you'll be fine. But they don't have any like game-breaking bats out there. I don't know what like the Red Sox have to get somebody. I still think the Dodgers are going to be in on people.
The
The
Giants want
Giants
to sign
have to
everyone.
get right. The Giants have to get somebody. The Mariners need bats. The Cubs need bats. I mean it's really good that the Sonny Gray wanted to be a Cardinal because if he didn't, I don't know where we'd be right now. But we'd probably be trading Nolan Gorman for someone, and it's a good thing
Yeah.
that didn't have to happen.
Yeah, which would have been I mean that'd be just
So who's pushing
ridiculous.
the
So
Cardinals in this division, Dad? Who is it? Is it the Brewers again? Probably.
well,
Like they're still the same
is that
team
the right,
almost.
correct way to phrase the question? I mean,
I mean, yeah,
what
because
if a
as of right
team wins
now,
75 games and wins this division? It's gonna be like the
maybe
NFC South down here in the New in
it's so interesting to me because like the Brewers lost Brandon Woodruff, but they also didn't really have Brandon Woodruff last year, so they didn't really lose him. They just didn't get him back. And like who else? They kind of kept everyone else. They made some solid
I mean,
moves so far this
The
offseason.
Reds are still young. The Reds have good. If healthy, that's always the question. They do have a great three guys at the top of their rotation who are I would take
I
at
don't know
any
if it's
point in time.
great, but yeah.
I mean, that's a Lodolo, Hunter Green, and Ashcraft. That's a three really. Those are
Yeah, but
three
none of
really
those
good
three
young
have put up
pitchers.
years like with even solid ERAs.
Yeah, I understand injuries
So
have
it's
played a
big
part of
question
that.
marks. I
All they're
agree.
all young. I agree.
But don't you think we would agree that they're as likely to win 75 games as they are to win 85? Like it's who are they going to be? We
Yeah.
don't
Oh, I
know.
get it. Yeah, and the Cubs, like I said, and Bellinger, the reports came out that he wants $200 million.
He should. He's the
Please,
best hitter on the market.
I agree, but please, somebody give him $200 million. Like, let one good for him, but also like they're gonna
He's
regret.
28. Isn't that crazy? He's only 28.
Yes, I have a feeling they're gonna regret that deal. I could be wrong, but
I hope they don't. Unless he's a Cub. But I don't know. Like the Pirates are obviously bad. The Reds have made some solid moves, I think, so far. I like the Pagan move. I like Jaime Candelario. I think he'll do some good things in that stadium. I don't know. We'll see. The Brewers are the Brewers. They're probably going to win anywhere from 82 to 88 games. And
ugh,
if people in the division are worse than them, then they'll win the division. Like they're not gonna win the division. They're gonna take it if someone else doesn't take it from them. It's kind
I
of
think I
fair.
would be surprised if the Brewers are over 500 this year. Like,
They're
I'm not
they
gonna
said
lie.
they have the same team as last year.
Well, except you're not gonna have Woodruff for most of the
They didn't
year.
have him last year. He was out almost the entire year.
They don't have Rowdy Tellez. What are you talking about?
He didn't play. They had Carlos Santana playing first.
Yeah,
Like
I guess. I guess. I
they're almost
mean,
the same team. Like on paper,
I
yeah, not great, but we say this every year. They're gonna. But the biggest
but
loss is
they
probably Craig Council. But we'll
create.
see.
There you go. There you go.
But maybe not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like I a big thing I wonder is how much of an impact do managers have on an organization that's run as analytically as the Brewers are. You know
I
what I
don't.
mean? Like they're all
Yeah.
analytics. So Craig Council, I think he's a good manager, and I think he manages egos well. But how much of an impact on the game, the day to day, games does he have? I don't know.
We'll
We'll see.
probably find that out in the next couple of years. To be honest with
Yeah,
you, in
I mean,
Chicago.
well, I don't know if that'd be fair because their talent's going down a little bit. But also, like they're adding Jackson Trail. What if he's the guy? What if he is a superstar? Like,
Yeah.
there's a chance that the Brewers are once again the best team of this division because they have the safe floor of not being horrible, and the Cardinals don't know if
Unless
we
they
have that
trade Burns and
anymore.
Adamas.
Well, yeah, but they haven't, and I don't think they're going. I
Right.
honestly don't think they're going to.
No, I
Because
don't
if you're
think
the
so
owner,
either.
you're not gonna make any money if you do that.
Yeah.
No
Well,
one's
it
coming to
seems
that
like we have
stadium after
owners
trade
who
this
can't
year.
figure out how to make money in baseball when there's
Mark
billions of dollars being
Athanasios has
exchanged.
figured out how to make money,
Yeah. It's a
so we'll
wild,
see.
wild world out there. Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about
Yeah,
here in
the
before
relief.
we get out of here and have some Christmas cocktails?
Yeah, the relievers I'm interested in. Like Stevenson's interesting, Hicks is interesting. Obviously, Hader, like that's the holy grail um contract that could either be amazing or horrible. We don't know. And then Maton and all those guys. Do you think they're still looking at starting pitching, or
No,
are they just on relief pitching? Then why
I
are they
think they've
looking at
moved
Tyler
on.
Glass now?
Well, I think that was a trade that you could make. Like I don't
Yeah.
think Dylan
Well, they
Cease is a
didn't.
trade you can make because
The Glass
I
trade wasn't even a trade they could make. They didn't have Ryan Pepio.
agreed. I'm okay. Let me say you could
No,
make
I'm not
that.
arguing with you. I'm saying like
No.
even
You're
that's
right.
like
My
proving your
point
point
was,
that it's
I
that
think
hard to make a trade right
I
now.
think they viewed that as a guy they could extend immediately. I think they viewed that as a guy that wouldn't cost them an arm and a leg like a Dylan Cease is going to for their future. Remember,
And they
next
can't
year,
extend him.
let's not forget that every person in that rotation in 2 years is not a Cardinal. Like they literally have no next year
Okay,
three.
you keep leaving out Sonny Gray for some reason. Every
Sorry,
time you
I'm
talk
sorry.
about our rotation,
Four of those. I apologize.
you
Sorry,
did this on
Sonny.
Twitter
I
multiple
did. I
times as
did.
well.
I did. I just forgot. I put
He's
it
like
out
our
of my
best
mind.
pitcher, and you keep leaving him out.
One of those guys is under contract after next year.
Yeah,
So let's not 25. So not this coming season, the next season, right?
Steven
But
Matz.
the other two
Yeah,
are Miles and Steven Matz, who are, I mean, arguably on the massive decline.
I don't know if Matz is on a decline. He's just injury ridden, but yeah, it's interesting. I do think like Jesus Luzardo is interesting to me because that's the guy that you might really, really trade someone that hurts for. He is like coming into his own as potentially an ace, like legitimately one of the better pitchers in baseball last year. He has 3 years of control left, and I think you could extend him if you got him to even keep him for 6 years. So that's the guy that if you're going to trade anyone for, I think it's him. And I think if you look at just what the Marlins historically want in trades, it's contact oriented, flexible players like a Luis Ariz, like Joey Wendell, guys like that. So that would be Brendan Donovan in this situation that I think they would covet. The Cardinals aren't trading Brendan Donovan. I think they're just not doing that. They think he's the next leader in the clubhouse, apparently, all that. But if there's one guy that you're going to go do that for, it has to be him, right?
Yeah, I think they would want Nolan Gorman because they're not
I
going to
don't.
probably re-sign Jorge Soler. So you just lost 30 to 35 home runs off out of the middle of your order. You
Yeah,
don't
but I
necessarily
think they
need
like
a
to play
young
to their
second
ballpark.
baseman.
Well, they do though, kind of. Who's their second
I
baseman?
mean, that's what I meant. You could use a young, but also Gorman can play the corners. He can DH. Like I don't know. I think they'd
Hogan
want a guy who
Donovan.
can hit bombs. Yeah, but Brent Allen's not going to project it 35 home
I
runs in the
don't.
show.
They're not really a bombs organization, are they? Like they
I'm just
traded
saying though,
Luis
when you
Ariz.
when you lose, okay, Luis Larice hits 350. Like that's different. Brent Allen's not going to hit 350.
Okay, I get it. I'm just saying that I think Brendan Donovan fits a lot of what they'd want. He's also like Skip Schumacher probably loves the guy, but I don't know. I think Lazardo's an interesting guy. I'd keep an eye on because I do think if he's available, they'll be interested.
Do we actually believe he's available?
They tried to trade him to the Royals for Vinny Pasquantino. So yeah, he's
Oh,
available.
that was confirmed?
That was I mean Ken Rosenthal's as confirmed as it can get, I think, and he's a
Okay,
quarterback.
I had only heard that was out there. I
Yeah,
didn't know that was actually confirmed.
yeah. So that basically confirmed. I don't know, like it was being talked about at least, which means they weren't just saying, "Don't call me again about this guy." If Lazardo's available, like doesn't that seems like that's a lefty in your that's a lefty to go with Sonny Gray at the top of your rotation. He's gonna be cheap. You can probably give him an extension. I think he'll take it. I really do. Um, so he's interesting, but that's costing Gorman and more, Donovan
So let me
and
ask you
more.
this: Who balked at that trade?
From what I gathered, the Royals did.
So
Well,
who do
they
we
have
have?
two
So
good
what I'm
hitters, and
asking,
Vinny Pasquantino is one of them.
no. What I'm asking you is, who do we have that you would equate to Vinny Pasquantino?
Nolan Gorman.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. Nolan Gorman, well, and Brendan Donovan. Like you can, it just depends on what you value. Like I've read some things from Derek Gould that says the MLB as a whole is divided on who's more valuable between Donovan and Gorman. Like you can ask two executives, they'll tell you two different answers. Just because what do you value? Do you value the on base and the potential power upside of Donovan, or do you value just the monstrous power upside of Nolan Gorman? It just depends. Like I think you look at a lot of people liked what the Astros were doing, where they were getting guys that didn't swing and miss very much, got on base a lot, and could also hit homers more than the Kyle Schwarber type player that Nolan Gorman might end up being. So I don't know. It just depends on what they want. Like you don't know. They're two very different players. And I would say some organizations would want one of them, some would want the other one. I just don't know.
would you personally deal Nolan Gorman for Jesus Luzardo?
I probably, I probably would.
I don't like that you said that at all. I don't like it.
I pro I mean, I don't know. Like, no, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I
No,
don't think I would.
I quickly that I would not. I would not.
It's
I would
hard.
take.
It's hard because there's a good chance that you come out pretty good in that deal.
I will take. Okay, Luzardo as a fantasy owner of Jesus Luzardo. All right, he is mind numbing because he will go out there and put up 3 straight games. This is all pitchers, by the way. So I'm not taking a shot at Jesus Luzardo. I would just, and then he'll miss a lot of games, like he will. The
Put up
one
4 WAR last year, by the way.
Yeah, I love him. Like I would love to have him as a Cardinal. I just love the guy who impacts the team 5 days in a row instead of the guy who impacts it one out of every
Couldn't you argue
five.
that Nolan Gorman's inconsistency means he doesn't do that?
Absolutely, that's a valid argument. But you also know my absolute man crush on Nolan
I do too.
Gorman,
I love him,
and
and I don't.
I don't know. I can't get rid of it. I
It's
don't know what else to
it's
say.
tough. It's really tough. But if you're the Cardinals and you're looking at this and you're saying, what are the odds we can develop someone that can give us offensive production similar to Nolan Gorman, not the homers, but just the overall WRC plus, right? The 130-ish, 120-ish he's going to give you. Pretty good. They've been able to do that. We've seen that. What are the odds they can develop a Jesus Luzardo? 0? 0%?
What I will say is, in my lifetime, you can make the argument it's Matt Carpenter. I don't necessarily agree with that. I
One
think
season, I think.
the power of no, I don't know the last lefty outside of my guy Ray, who still didn't
Jim
hit
Edmonds.
40 home runs, and we did not draft and develop Jim
Oh,
Edmonds.
you didn't say that yet.
That's why like the Cardinals fans, including us, have been pining for a left-handed power bat in that lineup, and I would have a hell of a hard time dealing it. I for anyone, like not
Okay,
anyone
let's
is a
switch this
hyperbole, but
conversation to Brendan Donovan. What'd
I
you
would
do?
deal him in a heartbeat for Jesus Luzardo.
Okay, so if we are to believe all of the things that have come out of the clubhouse, that he is the guy that's leading them behind Paul Goldschmidt. It's those two guys. Because there's Arenado stuff that I mean, weird stuff that he isn't as big of a leader as Brendan Donovan is, which is strange to me, but that is what that is. If that's real, I don't know. But if that is true, and he is like one of the big leaders in your clubhouse, and he does all the things he does on the field, being your leadoff hitter, how do you deal with that guy and think that your team gets a lot better when we know there were clubhouse issues last year?
Well, again, I'm not keeping a guy simply because he's good in the clubhouse. Let me just be
But that's
honest.
not
I'll
the only
start there.
reason. That's
Okay,
disingenuous.
I'm not. Just stop. You asked. I'm going to answer it. All right. I'm not going to just keep Brendan Donovan because he's potentially, from what we've heard, the second best leader on the team. First of all, Nolan Arenado, step up, be a leader. Like you're gonna have to. Also, you've got other guys in that clubhouse who can lead. Wilson Contreras in his second year. Everybody said Andrew Kisner was one of the top leaders in that clubhouse last year. He's gone. Everybody said that Tyler O'Neill was the
Okay, that's not
problem.
that
Hold
was a
on. I'm
factor. That wasn't the only thing I said.
every None of that would matter to me. If you could trade Brendan Donovan for Jesus Luzardo right now, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I
Why
love
why are
Donnie.
you so but why are you so much high? What is the reason you're so much higher on Gorman than Donovan?
The ceiling,
It's just the power.
the absolute ceiling of what he can do.
I mean, yeah, the ceiling of Joey Gallo was massive too. But I'm just saying I'm not saying I'm
I
not
mean,
high
we
on
have
Nolan
Tommy,
Gorman. I
like
am.
Brendan Donovan could become Tommy Edmond 2.0.
He can't. He's way better than Tommy Edmonds ever been at hitting right-handed pitching. Yeah, way better. Time close.
How is he against hitting? Is he better than him hitting lefty? No.
What? Hitting
Left-handed
lefties?
pitching.
I
Left-handed
don't care
pitching,
about
yeah.
that at all. I really don't.
Well, then
And
you can't
honestly,
pick one
yeah,
stat and
because
not like the other. Like I'm
well,
simply
yes, you
saying,
can because one you're facing three-fourths of the time, one you're
with
facing
the
one-fourth
depth
of the
of
time.
this team, I would be fine dealing Brendan Donovan for Jesus Luzardo. That is a yes. A lot of people are absolutely in love with Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar. I am happy. I love them as well. Love them. I'm simply saying neither has done anything yet, and maybe they will, and I hope they do.
Well, that's not true either. One finished third
To
in rookie
you
of the
didn't
year.
you The point was neither has done anything yet to become an all-star level player, and neither is Nolan
Right.
Gorman. I understand that. My thing is you need a left-handed power bat. You have a left-handed power bat at the age of 23. Continue to work and develop him to make him not become Joey Gallo.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. My thing is, I wouldn't. I don't know if I trade either of them. I think that's where I've landed.
Well, then you're
Like,
not getting Jesus Luzardo. So,
right,
and that's
and
fine.
I think
Okay.
that's where the Cardinals are at right now too. Is that anything that they want, they have to give up someone they don't want to give up, and that's just the reality of trading right now. Especially when you look at all these teams that just lost out on Yamamoto, are going to lose out on Snell, are going to lose out on Monty because those guys can only go to one place. Um, that price is just going to go up. I thought it might go down. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, seeing Ryan Pepio get traded for Tyler Glass now,
Yeah.
like at this point, if you're the Cardinals, is your best course of action go into the season with what you've got and a reliever, whether that's as great as Hader or it's not, and it's Hicks and it's Maton, whoever. And you go into the season, get to the All-Star break. I think they'll be in contention by the All-Star break and reassess and say, hey, there's this team that we thought was going to be good that's bad now, and they're trading a rental. And maybe that's the shot you take by trading prospects. That to me seems like a way more reasonable thing than trading Donovan or Gorman.
Yeah. And I would like it to be said I am a Brendan Donovan fan.
It doesn't
But
sound like it.
if oh God, I do not feel like Brendan Donovan like you feel about Luke and Baker. I'd like that on the record. Your hatred of Luke and
Well, you
Baker is
shouldn't because
taken enough.
Donovan's way better
So,
at baseball than Luke and
and
Baker.
I'm not. I guess what I'm saying is you have a lot of depth already offensively on this team.
Do you?
I
You have a
think
lot. You have a
so.
lot of depth in the starting lineup. You get one guy out there, the depth's gone.
That's fair. That's fair.
You get Donovan out of there, how good your lineup looking?
That's most teams.
That's why they don't trade Donovans.
Yeah, I agree. But if you're getting a Luzardo to pair with Sonny Gray, I guess here's what I'm going to say. I don't think they're
We're
going to
talking in
trade. This is it.
circles.
Then yeah, I am, but I'm not trying to. But I don't think they're going to trade for Luzardo. But if it were up to me, and you're the offer is Donovan or Gorman, personally, and I'll probably get blasted for this, and that's fine. Blast away, whatever. Merry Christmas, everyone. Whatever. It's okay. I would deal Donovan over Nolan Gorman. That's me, and I'll probably end up being proven
Yeah.
wrong, and that's fine. But that's what I would
No,
do.
it's not even that. Like it's a tough discussion to have. But I think my reaction would be I'm not doing it. Like that would be my reaction. And it sucks because I do want them to go get another starter and I want them to get better in that regards. But for me, like what happens if you do that and Donovan keeps being just who he is? Let's say he doesn't even get better, which he probably will, because players generally get better when they get into their mid to late 20s. That's just the way it goes. But let's say he just stays who he is as this consistent 120 WRC plus guy who's going to get on base a ton and plays every position. And Luzardo has an arm injury, which is relatively likely, right? Arm injuries happen a lot. Then you're looking at it like, man, why did we do that? And I don't think like the Goldie and the Arenado trades are slam dunks. Those are guys in their prime that are all-star position players that are going to continue to be that because you know who they are. I don't think trading for a pitcher with this many years of control is even worth it. That's where I'm at. I don't think it is. They cost too much, and the likelihood of it being worth it seems relatively low to me. But you could
Yeah, it's
argue that
tough.
Luis Ariz is more valuable than Pablo Lopez, and Pablo Lopez had a great outcome in his first year with the Twins.
Right. Yeah,
So it's
I
just
agree.
tough to me to see that match fitting. And we talked a lot about this to get to a place where we were earlier anyway. We're probably not doing it, but it sucks. I want a cheap pitcher to become available that we can trade for. That's good. That's what I want. That's what I really want.
Luis, I mean,
It's not
Luis
happening.
Ariz was a 5 WAR player last year.
Right.
Lopez was a 3.3. This goes back to my original comment, which now I'm kind of pissed that I did make the argument to trade Brendan Donovan. Like I am kind of mad about that. But my original argument is I want the guy who impacts the game 5 days in a row versus the guy who impacts it one. I understand that I understand the argument against it. I will fully understand the argument against it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying my personal opinion is I want the guy who's in the lineup every day that can impact more games a year if that's what we're talking about, then dealing now. If we're gonna deal a young guy who's not on this roster yet, or then we can talk. Like then we can
Yeah.
talk for a Jesus Luzardo or a Dylan Cease. All right, because potentially those guys will be good. I think we've seen what Nolan Gorman can do. It's only in spurts, and I understand that, but I think we can see that if I mean. Look at what Kyle Schwarber does every year when he impacts the game. And there are spurts where he's terrible. But when he's not, he's an all-star. He's I mean, almost a perennial all-star at this point in time.
Yeah. And
And
he's,
we've
I
seen
mean,
what
yeah.
Brendan Donovan could do having a 4 WAR season just 2 years ago. Obviously, the injuries last year. So now, can we edit this entire podcast out of everything I just said? Because now that I do say that, like I'm like, no, I'd rather have Donovan and Gorman than Luzardo and fill in the other one.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm there too. And I don't think the trade is worth it. I also think there's something to be said of, offenses are kind of more valuable than pitching staffs. And I know, like, is there a world where this pitching staff can have a Montgomery Eovaldi step up and win you a lot of postseason
Yes.
series? Like, could that be Miles Michaelis? It could be. He could
Well,
definitely be. It could that he could have a Montgomery level. He could. He could
yeah,
do
he
that.
could.
Montgomery wasn't striking out 9 per 9 during that
Here's what.
postseason
Okay,
run.
let me tell you this. Yes, that is the world. I just don't think the Montgomery part of that equation is on the roster yet. That's what I'll say. Is that fair?
So you think they're going to trade for one?
That's what the Rangers did. Montgomery wasn't on the team until they got
Right. Yeah.
to July 30th. So
So
yes,
who's our
that's what I will
TK
say.
Roby and Thomas JC we're trading? Maybe it's
I
those two.
I
Maybe it
don't
is them.
I don't know
Maybe it's
what it
those
is.
two.
I guess
Maybe it's those two.
what I'm saying is yes, I do believe that you can pair a person with Sonny Gray. I personally do not believe it's Miles Michaels. I hope it is. I hope he's incredible. Like I'll always say that. I personally don't believe it's Lance Lynn or Kyle Gibson either. I think those guys are back into the rotation guys. But right now you needed innings. You address that. That's fine. It's average. It's fine as it can be. You're better. I think you're better than you are last year because, like you said, the floor is higher. And I like the ceiling might be lower, but the floor is higher. And I do believe that you can go into the postseason with Sonny Gray and someone else paired next to him. I just currently do not believe that guy is in the rotation. Maybe it is somebody at AAA that we did
Maybe
not
it's TK
expect.
Roby.
Right. Or maybe it is somebody that you've make a deal for at the trade deadline. Let me
Right.
say that. Also, I would like to apologize to everyone who listened. For me going from in a heartbeat, I would trade Brendan Donovan to Jesus Luzardo to no, I'm not doing it in literally 5 minutes. I apologize for that. I'm a prisoner of the moment. I react that way to everything. Those of you who watch that know that. So thank you for continuing watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I do apologize for what just happened.
It's okay. I don't know what to say to that. So so is there our ideal offseason signing Josh Hader and
Yes.
calling it a day?
Yes. Yeah, if they could have if you can have Hader and Helsley at the back end of a bullpen, I don't
5 years, 110. Do you do it?
yes. I mean, it's not my money. Do I want the billionaire owner who owns the team of who owns my favorite team to go ahead and spend the
Well,
money
okay,
on
I'm
the
talking about in
best
the
reliever that's
parameters
on the
of what we
market?
know these teams
Yes.
can do.
The answer
Like,
is
and the
yes.
parameters of what the Cardinals spent. The craziest part about this, if they were to do that, they would have given out the biggest contract in franchise history to a free agent that's a reliever.
5 110.
Biggest ever.
That's something.
Will
Hey, that
Wilson
is
has
the
the biggest ever at 87 and a half. It
yeah.
would blow that away.
Yep. There
Like,
it
not
is.
counting Matt Holliday, who was already on this team before that happened.
There it is.
That's crazy. That's why they're not going to do it. That's insane. Could you imagine that? Would
Just
they be
not
the
gonna
only? They'd be
do
the
it.
only team in baseball whose biggest contract was a reliever,
Well, that's a if anything sums up the Mo years
free agent
and the
contract.
DeWitt, right there it is. Boom. Josh Hader, biggest contract in Cardinal history.
Well, free agent contract, yeah.
Free agent contract, yes.
All right. Well, I don't know what we even talked about, but I think we got it out of here.
I have a headache now. I'm gonna go have a cocktail.
Alrighty, well,
Hey,
let's
to all
wrap
those who
this up.
listened, thank you. We greatly appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button. Continue to tell a friend. Have an incredible holidays. Hope everyone stays safe. Enjoy all of this time that you can with your family and friends. We miss you. We had to take a little break because of the holidays, essentially. We will be back when there is more Cardinal news, and we will be back on a regular basis. But happy holidays, everybody. Go Cards.